Alright, what is up you guys? So today we're going to be talking about the broken clutch on the Subaru. Because I know not everybody's going to watch the video in its entirety, I just want to preface this video by saying I had an issue with this ACT clutch, and ACT went above and beyond to fix the issue for me, and it didn't cost me really anything out of pocket, so that's great. So overall, happy with how they handled the situation. With that out of the way, let's get into the video. All right, you guys, thank you for clicking on the video today. As you can probably tell by the title of the video, the Subaru is broken, which is something that doesn't usually happen. This car has been very reliable to me, especially since I put the new engine in it. The engine is not the issue in this case, and luckily the transmission is also not the issue, but it is transmission related. So as you may know, I recently put a STI 6-speed into this car. My 2005 Subaru Outback XT now has a 2007 STI 6-speed transmission with the center diff controller, all that stuff. And because of my current video series where I'm building the car through the stages, right now the power is not as high as it was, which is the reason I switched to the STI 6-speed, is because my power goal was 500 horsepower. The 5-speed couldn't handle that. I broke it, switched to the 6-speed. So with that little backstory, when I did the 6-speed swap, the clutch I decided to go with was a ACT mod twin disc clutch, which is a pretty new clutch to the market. I think it came out in 2020-ish, late 2020, early 2021. It's a very cool clutch, looks cool. It's rated for like 800 foot-pounds of torque or something, and it's organic clutch material, so the drivability is really good. I have like 6,000 miles on the transmission and clutch, and all of a sudden one day the clutch wouldn't fully disengage. So I was not able to, like, from a stop, put the clutch in all the way, and I wasn't able to put it into first gear or second gear. Luckily I was able to get into third gear for whatever reason, and then I was able to get it home just by downshifting into second and just leaving my foot on the clutch and leaving it in gear. And then the clutch bite point was like right at the floor, so like clutch all the way to the floor, and I lift up like a millimeter and it would start to move the car. You can put the car into gear with the engine off, but when the engine's on, it won't go into gear. It's very bizarre symptoms. I thought, okay, maybe it's the master cylinder going out, because I replaced the slave cylinder, the lines, and all that stuff except the master cylinder. So I was like, okay, maybe the master cylinder's bad. It has 180,000 miles. So replace the master cylinder. Lo and behold, problem's still there. So I did some research on the clutch that I got, and this seems to be an issue that people are having with this clutch, where there's, on the floater plate, there's a spring. It's just a bent piece of metal spring that is supposed to keep the floater plate centered between the clutch discs. And obviously if it's just a bent piece of metal spring, depending on the material, you know, it can only bend so many times. So the issue that people are having is one of those springs breaks, and then you have two other springs that are still applying pressure, so then your floater plate is tilted and it's dragging on the clutch disc, so it's not fully disengaging. So I called ACT to see if they could tell me if that was my problem. I already know that's my problem based on the symptoms I was having, what other people said, having the same exact symptoms, and that was their issue. And those springs broke around the same mileage as mine. One person's springs broke at 2,000 miles, and one person's broke at 6,000 miles. One person replaced it, broke the springs again. So sadly I have to take out the transmission again so I could take the clutch out and assess the damage. That's what we're gonna do today. So I'm gonna get this transmission out. I'm not gonna be very detailed on it because you guys have seen me take transmissions out multiple times. So I'm just gonna try to knock this out as quickly as I can and get to the clutch and figure out the problem. So stay tuned if you're interested. Oh, fluid brand new. God damn. Oh yeah, yo. Tight. Oh man. A lot more came out than I thought. guys, so I'm gonna give you a closer look at this. I'm gonna make the table messy, but whatever. Okay, so here's the clutch disc. Still looks to be in good shape. Yeah, I don't really see anything necessarily wrong with this. Now here's the issue right here. Got a couple hot spots. Other than that, it looks pretty good still. So you see this spring here? So this is what separates the, there's a lot of spring pressure on this, holy cow. This presses up against here, and it makes the floater plate evenly, you know, separated from the clutches when you have the clutch in, or it's in neutral. So like you want the floater plate to be lifted off the surface so that the clutches aren't touching, and you want it to be, you know, evenly lifted, and this keeps it from rattling a little bit too. But since one of these springs broke, these two springs were still applying pressure, and it was causing this end to touch. So this end was dragging on the clutch. And that might be why there's this right here. There's a big hot spot right by the broken spring because it was applying more pressure there. And then this one also has a hot spot right where that spring broke. Just got the clutch back from ACT. I sent it out probably like a week and a half ago or so, maybe 2 weeks, and it's back. So it's been inspected, repaired, and sent back. I had to pay for shipping to ship it to ACT, but it was only like 30 bucks and then 20 for insurance. But they inspected it, basically found what I showed you guys, and then they repaired it free of charge, which I thought was pretty awesome because the clutch is 2 years out of warranty. And while I did get the clutch new, I was the first owner of the clutch. Somebody else had bought it, so I wasn't the person who was on the invoice, but I had the clutch unused condition, installed it in the car, 2 years out of warranty, and they still repaired it. But I think that's because of like a manufacturer defect error or whatever. So good on them for fixing that for me. So I haven't looked at it yet. I haven't opened it up yet. It's still in its box. But based on what I seen on the inspection report, they resurfaced the flywheel, replaced the main pressure plate, the floater plate that had the broken spring, and they also replaced the clutch material on the disc faces. So this clutch is pretty much refreshed from the looks of it. I'm gonna open it up and see what everything looks like, and then yeah, I'll show you guys. Oh man, they even put it in a brand new box. This looks like how it came when I got it. Alright, so we got that. I got another one of these, which I already have like 3 of. Nice, clean, definitely my clutch, but refreshed. So let's take a look. They cleaned it up nicely. It's still obviously used. All this stuff was good, this outer part, everything. What the issue was is, as you've seen before, the floater spring broke. So it looks like, as they said, there's a new main plate, a new floater plate, and the clutch disc material does look fresh as well. And then the flywheel has been resurfaced. So they did everything they said. But sweet, this thing is ready to go back in the car. I'm trying to decide whether I want to remove these springs, because from what I've seen, a lot of other twin disc clutches on the market, they don't have those springs on the floater plate. I think what they do is it's just supposed to like eliminate some of the chatter you get when you have the clutch in. But I'm a little worried that they're gonna break again. These are thicker than the old ones were, but I'm still concerned about the longevity. So I might just remove them at the cost of it being a little bit more noisy. But if that's gonna make my car more reliable, I think it's worth it. My car's already kind of makes a bunch of weird noises, so a little more weird noises is not that big of a deal. So I might drill those out and then get this clutch back installed, get the transmission back in, and then finish up some of the other stuff I started while the car was down for a month or so. Thank you, ACT, for fixing my clutch. That saved me a lot of money and shows that you stand by your product, so good on you guys. So I took apart the assembly, resurfaced flywheel, new main pressure plate, new floater plate, and then 2 new clutch discs. And I removed the springs So these springs actually are beefier than the ones that broke, but I still don't really trust them, and I don't want to have to pull the transmission out again to do this. So I'm just gonna remove them. It might be a little noisier, but I think it'll be fine. But I basically just ground the rivet end off of both of them and then just pressed out this little rod so it didn't damage the holes or anything, so it's good to go. I'm not an engineer and I didn't design this clutch, but what I imagine that these springs are for is that, because this clutch did not have any like chatter or any issues with noise before, and that's typically a thing that you see with twin disc clutches, is they have a lot of chatter or noise. But basically when you have the clutch in and the plates are separated, what these springs do is they keep this floater plate from touching the discs, and that makes it quiet. So if you remove those floater plates, this might move around a little bit and chatter, but it's only going to do that when the clutch is disengaged. So when the clutch is engaged, it shouldn't make any noise. When the clutch is disengaged, it might make a little bit of noise. But if it's going to make the car more reliable that way, I'm cool with that. So we're going to get this stuff back installed now, and I'll be back when I'm done. All right, so it is a few months later, because I have a very bad video editing schedule, but car is back together with the new / modified clutch without the springs, and it's back at a higher power level now. So I've been able to test out the clutch a bit, and so far, by removing those floater springs, I haven't had any like issues other than the noise that I talked about earlier. So I'm just gonna fire it up real quick and show you that noise if it comes over the camera. Right now it's in neutral. Clutch is not pressed in, so if I press the clutch in, you'll be able to hear like a little chatter rattle. So I'll press the clutch in right now. Let the clutch out. So that's, if you can hear that, that's the only ill noise that you can hear with the springs removed. So it's not that bad. You kind of get used to it, and yeah, it's not super loud. You can't really hear it that much. You're not sitting there with your foot on the clutch all the time. I honestly think it is worth the added reliability, not having to worry about those springs breaking and then having to pull the clutch out, because it's not that easy. So I'm not making this video as a way to like shame ACT. I don't really even know how common this issue is. I've seen it happen to other people, but it might truly just be like a metallurgical manufacturer defect that happens from time to time. But there's probably a lot of people out there who don't have this issue, and chances are if I ran the new floater plate with the updated springs, it probably would have been okay, but I just didn't really want to take the chance. Now if ACT didn't handle this situation the way that they did, this would be a different story, but I am very happy with how ACT handled this problem, and it was honestly exceeded my expectations. So big thanks to ACT for taking care of this issue. They're standing by their product, which is respectable, and beside that little defect, the product has been great so far. So I'd like to hear what you guys think about this situation. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. I hope you liked the video. If you did, please leave a like. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below, and also let me know what you think. If you know somebody who might be interested in this video, please share it with them. And if you aren't subscribed, please consider subscribing. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.